Hello everyone. Um, this is the first video I'm recording for a tutorial series about how to set up Yunohost and to use it either on a local server or in the cloud, and some other things about self-hosting and community hosting. I was just falling into sort of a rabbit hole about OBS and microphones and sound quality, and at first my microphone was like really picking up the sound of my laptop fan, um, and so I've switched to using these headphones with this thing because I think it was getting the sound of the laptop fan less, but there's still some background noise. But at this point, I think maybe I should just carry on and mess with it more later, because it seems like I could spend maybe a lifetime trying to figure that out. Um, so yeah, I'll jump right into it. Um, in this first video, we're actually just going to look at setting up Yunohost on a DigitalOcean server, which they call a Droplet. And DigitalOcean is a cloud infrastructure provider. Um, so you can use the DigitalOcean website to create a virtual server for yourself. I don't actually totally understand what a virtual server is. Something about maybe having multiple servers running on shared hardware or distributed in some way. But for our purposes as a user, what it means is we can sort of pay to create a server, a computer that we can log into remotely and run whatever we want on, and we can also destroy it when we want and stop being charged for it. Um, and so the first step is to create an account. So if you go to the DigitalOcean website pictured here, you can sign up. I won't walk through that whole process because it's sort of a standard sign up process. I signed up with email, and maybe the only confusing part is at some point you might get asked some questions about what you're going to use DigitalOcean for. I think this is just them collecting data. I wouldn't worry about the answers too much. I was also told that there's some coupon we can potentially get, so you can use DigitalOcean for free for the first 3 months. Maybe the answers about what you're going to use it for help you get this coupon. I'm not actually sure. If someone figures out what are the best answers for getting the coupon, maybe we can share that information between each other. But anyway, once you create an account, then you can sign in, and I'm actually going to do that off screen because or stop the recording because I read somewhere that there's some algorithms that can be used to analyze video where you're typing your password even when your fingers are off screen, and potentially make guesses at what your password is. I don't know exactly what video is needed to do that or how dangerous it is, but I figure I might as well just not type my password during a recording. I realized one other thing I should have mentioned during the sign up process is that you're going to have to enter some type of payment form. And just to give you an estimate, I think that the cheapest droplet you can get for the purposes of testing is $4 per month. It looked like the cheapest droplet we could get, which would meet Yunohost's stated minimum requirements, is $6 per month. I haven't actually tested if you're able to use the 4 one successfully. It might be possible even though it's below the minimum requirements, but I just wanted to give that estimate of what the costs are, and that would also be if it was running all the time. So you could also, if you wanted, create the droplet and destroy it immediately afterwards and not be charged for the whole month. But as far as I know, you still um, you can't you can't just pause very easily. Um, so you might have to do the whole setup process again. Like, I think when you pause, it keeps charging you. There might be some workarounds for that, but mostly if you're planning on doing a project over a couple months, probably the easiest way is to keep one droplet running for that time. So anyway, once you get signed up and get logged in, you're going to see something that looks like this, and you're going to click create, and you want to create a droplet. There might be a different screen when you first log in, and it might ask, you might want to click on something that says like virtual private servers, but eventually you're going to get to a screen that looks like this. The first thing we're going to do is choose a region. So I'm going to choose Bangalore. Right now I'm staying at a project called Janastu. That's about an hour north of Bangalore. Maybe I'll talk more about it in a different video. But choose a data center that's close to you, and then next up, we need to choose the operating system. These defaults for the other things are fine. For the operating system, for Yunohost, it expects you to run Debian. I'm not even sure it's possible to run Yunohost easily with other operating systems. It seems to kind of want you to use that one, but Debian's a good one. And then you want to choose the droplet size. This is where you're choosing how powerful the computer is. For more complicated applications or at scale, you might need, more computing power, but for today, for the purpose of testing, basic is totally fine, and we don't need premium until we can just click regular. And as I was mentioning before, the cheapest option is $4 per month. Apparently it's not available in the Bangalore data center, but actually the option I want to choose is $6 per month because it has 25 gigabytes of hard drive space, and this one only has 10, and Yunohost in its documentation says that 15 gigabytes, I think, is recommended. We don't need any additional storage. For an authentication method, maybe in another video we'll talk about SSH keys, as that's sort of a preferred way to connect and is more secure. But for just getting started, password is the easiest because we can log in directly through the web browser quite easily. So again, here's a place where you're going to type a password, and you do want to choose a secure password here because this server is on the internet, and bots and people could be trying to attempt to log in. So once again, I'm going to type this separate from the recording. So I'll just click pause. So now I've typed in my password, and I don't need any of these special options. And finally I'm going to give it a name, so I'm going to call this Soli Demo, and you can name it whatever you want. I click Create Droplet, and then it's going to take a second, but eventually when it finishes, we're going to see a green dot appear over here, and that's how we're going to know that it's running. Okay, so now the droplet has appeared. We can see the green dot, and we can also see this number, which is the IP address, which is the sort of address for reaching the server. Right now, if we type it into the browser, we're going to see this unable to connect because there's not actually anything running on it yet. So next, we're going to click these 3 dots and then Access Console. And this is a way to log into the terminal for this server and start to set it up. So we're going to log in as root, and so we click Launch Droplet Console. And now I think in OBS I need to make sure that you can actually see what's happening over there. Let's see if this works. That looks kind of crazy. I'm going to stop recording and come back to this. Okay, so I just fixed the OBS configuration. When you clicked Launch Droplet Console, it was going to open another window that looks like this sort of black terminal thing in the bottom left. And then we're going to go to the Yunohost install page. Yunohost in general has pretty good documentation. So this video is really just to sort of add on to the great documentation work they're already doing. And if we click Remote Server, because that's what we're doing, and then if you come down here, so the prerequisites, a virtual private server with Debian 11, we have that. 512 megabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes capacity, we have that. A computer to read this, obviously we have that. So, and we got onto the command line through that Access Console thing. And finally, we're going to copy and paste this command, although I think I remember that in the console it wasn't easy for me to paste, so I'm just going to type it out. Basically, this command is downloading an install script from install.yunohost.org, and this pipe bash thing is telling the command line to run the install script. That's normally a command you wouldn't want to run unless you trusted where it's coming from, but I trust Yunohost. And also, there's nothing else running on this droplet, so we're not concerned about overwriting things or stuff like that. So I think it looks like that. We click enter after typing it. And yeah, it begins the installation process. It's going to show some nice loading bars and tell you what it's doing as it's installing all the dependencies for Yunohost and configuring the system. It's worth noting that Yunohost really attempts to be kind of a full system manager, so it often doesn't make sense to run Yunohost on a machine that is also running some other things. It is possible, and I might even record a video later about how to run some particular services separate from Yunohost on a machine that is running Yunohost. But especially for getting started, it's good to run on a machine that doesn't have anything else on it, so Yunohost can be the thing that configures the entire machine. And for instance, with our DigitalOcean Droplet, we haven't installed anything else on it, so it's really going to be configured through Yunohost. So I'm not going to sit here recording the whole loading progress. It takes some time, but I'll restart the recording once the final installation message is finished. Okay, I actually got to a screen in the installation process where we need to select something. So it's asking me, configuring OpenSSH server, what do you want to do about modified configuration file sshd-config? I'm going to go with install the package maintainers version. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure if that's the best option, but we'll find out at the end of this video if that works, and if not, then I'll re-record this section with trying a different option. Okay, I again got to another screen where I have to select something. It says, caution, your configuration files for postfix, dovecot, mysql, nginx, metronome will be overwritten. Are you sure you want to proceed with the installation of Yunohost? The answer is yes. We haven't configured anything there, so it's fine to overwrite them, but it's worth noting that this is part of the reason we don't necessarily want to install Yunohost on a machine where we have a bunch of other stuff, because they might clash with each other. To improve the security of your server, it is recommended to let Yunohost manage the SSH configuration. Your current SSH configuration differs from the recommended configuration. If you let Yunohost configure it, the way you connect to your server through SSH will change in the following way. You will not be able to connect as root through SSH. Instead, you should use the admin user. Do you agree to let Yunohost apply these changes to your configuration and therefore affect the way you connect through SSH? I'm going to say yes. I'm a little concerned that this might mess with our root console access that we were using before to actually get to this screen, but we'll find out. So at the bottom left, this is the screen you should see when the Yunohost installation has successfully completed. We see these nice green OK letters telling us the installation is complete. And now we want to do the post-installation process. You could do the step through the command line by running Yunohost tools post-install, but we can also just do it through the browser. Because basically the idea is once Yunohost is set up, for the most part we're going to be able to do our system administration through the browser, through the graphical interface that they've made, and not through the terminal, unless there's very specific things that come up where we need to. So over here we copy and pasted that IP address, which is the same IP address we saw actually over here for our droplet. And now when we visit the IP address, instead of seeing the no connection thing we saw, we see this warning, potential security risk ahead. This is about the SSL certificate, I believe. But I would click advanced and then accept the risk and continue, because we know that we're the admins of this server, so we're not trying to hack ourselves. And then we see this nice screen that says, congratulations, Yunohost has been successfully installed. 2 more configuration steps are required to activate your server services. We click begin. It is possible to configure Yunohost with a custom domain of our choice, where you'd click I already have a domain name, but for the purposes of this tutorial and your first time getting set up, it's easier to use domains provided by Yunohost. So click I don't have a domain name, and then here you can enter whatever you want, and it will make a domain of something .nohost.me, and this is a domain provided by Yunohost that is sort of already configured to work well with Yunohost, versus if you have your own domain name, you have to do more configuration steps with your DNS provider to make sure that it's configured correctly. So I don't remember, I think I made a video before this with bad sound quality, so I think I'm at Solid Demo 3 by this point. And here you're going to just enter some basic info, Solid Demo, and again, I'll do the password off the recording. And now, once you've entered your password, you click Next. You're about to launch the post-installation process for soliddemo3.nohost.me. And you click OK. And you get this nice Pac-Man loading screen again. It will go on for some time. It should eventually complete successfully. Occasionally, I've seen Yunohost processes kind of hang or lose connection with the web browser, and at that point, you should refresh the page, and it still might have worked. But hopefully you don't need to do that, and you can actually just wait here until it completes. And I'll pause the recording. Okay, so after the post installation has completed, you should see something like this, and then you can enter your password. If my plans have gone correctly, I can paste this without typing it and log in. And here we are. We've made it to Yunohost, powered by Yunohost 11.1.17. This is the admin interface, and future videos will go through where to go from here, but that's a good starting point for now. The next steps to consider would probably be going through the diagnosis and confirming that everything is okay and checking the domain name. I guess just to quickly see, I'll check out if soliddemo3.nohost.me also immediately is working. That's loading. Maybe it's not working yet. That would be a less climactic ending, but that's life. Thanks for listening, and I don't have a YouTube channel, so I can't make any promotional material about it yet. See you next time. Oh, look. Let's see if it is actually working. Okay, so we see this thing about the SSL certificate. We click accept the risk and continue. And once again, we're here. I'm getting that password out. And we're going to see if that works to log in. Great. So we can now access Yunohost via this domain provided by Yunohost, in addition to directly through the IP address. And again, remembering that a domain is really just a mapping to an IP address. I'm now remembering it's also recommended to create another user if you'd like. So we have this initial admin user, but if you wanted, this is from the users screen, you could click new user and make some additional user with a different password. And but yeah, let's stop the video for now. Again, we had a fake ending. This is the real ending. We'll cover other topics in later videos.